You know, there is a very specific sound that I think triggers a primal response in every single homeowner.
Okay, I think I know where you're going with this.
It's not thunder. It's not a siren.
No.
It is the steady, rhythmic beep, 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 beep of a heavy machine backing up right outside your window.
That's the one, that low-frequency rumble that just vibrates the coffee cup on your kitchen table.
Exactly. It rattles your teeth, and it brings on this very specific mix of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, you're excited because, you know, you're finally getting that new addition or fixing the driveway that's been cracking for years.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand,
Absolute sheer panic.
the construction zone anxiety.
It's a real thing. You look out the window and you see this 20-ton excavator rolling off a trailer onto your manicured lawn.
Yep.
And the first thought is my yard ever going to recover from this? And the second is, are they going to hit a gas line? And listen, that is a completely rational fear. You are inviting chaos into your sanctuary. You're paying someone to literally tear up the ground you live on. It feels violent.
It feels like surgery without anesthesia.
Yeah.
But the goal today is to cure some of that anxiety. We've been reading through a really fascinating document.
I was so surprised by this one.
Right? It's called Residential Excavation Guidelines for Middlebury Homeowners. And before you tune out,
Thinking, wow, a manual on digging a hole?
let me stop you, because this text is not about digging holes. It's a masterclass in risk management, geology, and local law.
It really is.
And that's the mission for this deep dive. We want to flip the script. We want to take you from seeing excavation as just, you know, dirt moving, which looks chaotic and messy,
Right.
to seeing it as a highly regulated, engineered process.
Exactly. And if you walk away with one big insight today, it should be this. Professional excavation is not improvisation, it's a sequence. And honestly, the most critical part happens when the property is completely empty.
That was the aha moment for me, the invisible phase.
Yes.
Because I think this addresses the biggest pain point for homeowners. You sign the contract, you shake hands, you're ready to go, and then silence.
The ghosting phase.
Yes.
Right.
A week goes by, maybe two. You start thinking, did I just get scammed? Why aren't they digging?
But the source material suggests that delay is actually a good thing.
It's not just a good thing. It's a mandatory thing. If a contractor signs a contract on Tuesday and shows up Wednesday morning with an excavator, you shouldn't be happy.
You should be terrified.
You should be terrified, because that means they skipped the statutory requirements of Chapter 293.
Chapter 293. That sounds serious.
That is the Connecticut statute regarding damage prevention. Most people just know it as call before you dig, or 811.
I feel like a lot of people treat 801 like a suggestion. You know, oh, I'm just putting in a fence post. I'll be fine.
The text makes it crystal clear. This is not optional. It is state law. Before any mechanized equipment touches the soil,
Any at all.
you have to give notice to the central clearinghouse. And this isn't just about avoiding a fine. It's about that complex web of infrastructure that's just under our feet. I mean, the text details the color codes for the markings.
Right. You'll see the little flags or spray paint. Yellow for gas, red for electric, blue for water.
Orange for telecommunications.
That's the one that always seems to get hit.
It really is. And think about the risk here. Best case scenario, skip the call, you cut a fiber optic line, and your neighbors hate you because their internet is out for 3 days.
That's basically social suicide in this day and age.
It is. But the worst case scenario is catastrophic.
Oh, yeah. You hit a high-pressure gas line. Now, you're not talking about slow Netflix. You're talking about emergency evacuations, fire department, massive liability.
So that week of silence is actually the utility companies coming out to mark those lines so the operator can see the invisible danger.
Exactly. And here's a detail from the guidelines that I just love, the tolerance zone.
Oh, right, the 18-inch rule?
Yes. The paint mark on the grass isn't a laser beam. In Connecticut, there's an 18-inch tolerance zone on either side of that mark where you cannot use heavy machinery.
So the excavator can't just scoop right up next to a yellow flag?
Nope. They have to hand dig or use something called vacuum excavation within that zone. So if you see your contractor with a shovel near a yellow line instead of the big machine,
They're not being inefficient.
they're following the law to keep your house from exploding.
That recontextualizes everything, but it's not just utilities, right? There's a whole permitting layer that causes delays.
Huge delays sometimes. First, any contractor working on a residential property, so 1 to 6 units, has to be registered with the Department of Consumer Protection.
That's your first check.
That's your first check. But specifically for Middlebury, there's the issue of the road.
Sections 13A, 143A. The encroachment permit. I read that and I thought, why does the Department of Transportation care if I'm digging a hole in my own backyard?
They care about drainage. Let's say you redo your driveway. If you change the slope and suddenly you're dumping rainwater onto a state highway in January,
You've created an ice slick.
you've created a massive public safety hazard. The encroachment permit ensures that whatever you do on your property doesn't negatively impact public infrastructure. So that silence at the beginning, that's your contractor navigating a bureaucratic maze.
It's the calm before the very, very organized storm.
Precisely.
Okay, so the paperwork is done, the flags are in the ground, the invisible phase is over, now the machine starts. Let's get to the physics of the dig. This is where the guidelines for Middlebury get really specific, especially about depth.
Depth is everything in this part of the country.
I think a lot of people see a trench for a water line or a footing and think, does it really need to be that deep? Can't we save some money?
In a warmer climate, maybe. In Connecticut, absolutely not. You're battling thermodynamics. It all comes down to the frost line.
Explain that for us. What is the magic number in Connecticut?
The general rule, and often the code requirement, is 42 inches.
3.5 feet. That is way deeper than I would have guessed.
It is significant, and here's why it matters. When water in the soil freezes, it expands by about 9%.
Doesn't sound like much.
But the force it generates is incredible. It's called frost heave, and it's strong enough to lift a house.
Seriously.
Seriously. If you have a concrete footing or a PVC pipe sitting at, say, 24 inches above that frost line, an ice lens forms under it and literally pushes it up.
And that can snap types.
It snaps pipes, it cracks foundations, it heaves driveways. You've seen those driveways that look like a roller coaster after a bad winter?
Yes.
That's frost heave. By digging to 42 inches, you are placing your infrastructure below the point where the ground freezes solid. You're using the Earth's own insulation.
But here's the Middlebury curveball.
Yeah.
Digging 42 inches in sandy soil is one thing. Digging 42 inches in this part of Connecticut is different?
It's different. Middlebury is rocky. We have what's called glacial till and a lot of ledge.
So what happens when the plan says dig 42 inches, but at 20 inches you hit solid granite?
That's the big variable. And you basically have two choices, hammer or blast. For residential work, it's almost always a hydraulic hammer. It's a giant jackhammer on the end of the excavator.
So that gentle beep-beep noise turns into a rat-a-tat that rattles your fillings loose.
It does, and it drastically changes the timeline and the budget.
I'll bet.
Which is why the phased approach mentioned in the text is so vital. You don't want to just rip up the entire yard and hope for the best.
Right, let's talk about phasing. Because the amateur move is to treat the yard like a battlefield. Just dig everything up at once.
It looks impressive, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot is happening, but it's disaster waiting to happen.
How so?
The professional approach is surgical. You dig a section, install the component, get it inspected, and then you backfill it.
So instead of a 100-foot open trench, you have to jump over to get to your mailbox.
You have a 20-foot active zone. It's crucial for safety kids, pets, but it's also about soil integrity. If you leave a trench open for 3 weeks and we get a nor'easter, that trench is now a swimming pool.
Oh, wow.
The walls collapse, you have to pump it out, it's a total mess. Phasing limits your exposure to the weather, you're
Right.
minimizing the open wound.
Which segues perfectly into the terrain. Middlebury is not a flat prairie. It's got hills, slopes,
Character, as the real estate agents say.
character, exactly,
Yeah.
which is code for drainage nightmare. And the text spends a lot of time on erosion control. I think people see those black fabric fences, silt fences, and just think they're ugly.
Or they think they're useless and want to take them down. Do not take them down. Those fences are functional engineering.
How do they actually work? It just looks like plastic stapled to stakes.
It's a geotextile. It's designed to let water pass through but trap the sediment. See, when you strip the grass off a site, you lose the root system holding the dirt in place. If it rains, all that mud wants to flow downhill into the street, into a storm drain, or into a wetland. And the environmental fines in Connecticut are no joke.
I've heard that.
They are severe. If your construction site turns the local stream brown, the deep can shut your job down, period. Those silt fences and hay bales are there to keep your soil on your property.
So if you see your contractor obsessing over where to put hay bales, just let them.
Yes, they are saving you from a massive headache.
And let's talk about putting the dirt back. We've dug the hole, hammered the rock, put in the pipe.
The backfill phase, the text used a term I hadn't heard before. Lifts.
Yes, this is the difference between a pro and a guy with a truck. You cannot just push the dirt back in the hole.
Why not? I mean, it came out of there. Logic says it should fit back in.
Because when you dig it out, you fluff it up, you introduce air into it. It's called bulking. If you just dump it all back in, over time, gravity and rain will squeeze that air out.
Yeah.
The soil settles.
And if that soil is under your brand new driveway, your new driveway cracks. Or you get a sinkhole in your lawn. The solution is compaction and lifts.
How does that work?
You put in maybe 8 to 12 inches of dirt, then you run a plate compactor or a jumping jack over it. You mechanically smash the air out until it's solid, then you add another 8 inches.
So you're building it up like a layer cake.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. It takes 3 times as long as just bulldozing the pile back in. But this is the backfill science. If you see your contractor stopping every foot to run a loud vibrating machine,
It's a good sign.
that is a sign of quality. They are ensuring that ground stays solid for the next 20 years.
And once the hole is filled, you're still not done. You have to shape the land. The guidelines talk about positive slope.
This is one of those things that sounds so obvious but gets missed constantly. Water is the enemy of a house.
Right.
Every building code, every manual, they all agree. The ground must slope away from the foundation.
What's the metric for that? Is there a standard?
Generally, you want a 6-inch drop over the first 10 feet away from the house.
6 inches and 10 feet.
Okay. You're basically telling the water where to go. If the ground is flat, or worse, slopes toward the house, that water just pools against your foundation. It creates hydrostatic pressure, and eventually it will find a way into your basement.
So the excavator's final job isn't just to make it look smooth. It's to sculpt the land.
It's to sculpt the land so gravity pulls water away from your biggest asset. It's rough landscaping with a hydraulic purpose.
So we've got the prep, the dig, the compaction, the grading. But the question that every listener is screaming right now is, how long is this going to take?
The timeline question, the most dangerous question in construction.
We want a number. Give us a number.
The source material is honest here. It depends. But we can bracket it. For a simple job, a utility trench or a small shed pad, you're looking at 1 to 3 days of active digging.
That seems pretty fast.
That's the active part. Remember, you might have had 2 weeks of permitting before that. But for a complex job, a large addition, a driveway overhaul, anything with septic, you are looking at weeks.
And this is where the text brings up the northeast factor.
Yes. If you Google how long to dig a foundation, you might get an estimate based on digging in dry, sandy soil in, like, Arizona. That does not apply to Connecticut.
Because of the weather.
We have a specific issue called mud season.
Yeah.
In the spring, or just after a heavy rain, our soil gets saturated with clay, and you literally cannot compact it properly.
Wow.
If you try to run a compactor over wet clay, it doesn't pack down. It just squishes around. It turns into pudding. It has no structural integrity.
So it has to wait.
You have to wait for it to dry out. There is no shortcut.
Yeah.
If a contractor tries to rush it with wet soil, you will have settlement issues later. So if your contractor disappears for 2 days after a rainstorm, they're not skipping out on you.
They're letting physics do its job so they can do theirs.
Exactly. And the source material offers a way to track this. Don't watch the calendar. Watch the process signals.
What do you mean?
Early phase. Do you see paint on the grass and silt fences up? Good. Mid-phase. Do you see the trench open and then a pause for a day? That's probably the inspection window. Late phase. Are the heavy machines gone and replaced by rakes and grass seed? That's stabilization.
Okay, so we know what the contractor is doing. What should we be doing? The source implies there's a homeowner's playbook.
Absolutely. You are an active participant, and it starts with the pregame walk.
This seems so simple, yet I bet people skip it all the time.
Constantly. You need to walk the property with the contractor before a single machine arrives. You point out the things that are not on the blueprints.
Like what, for example?
My prize-winning rose bushes are right here.
Mm.
Or there's an invisible dog fence buried along this line. Or, specifically in Middlebury, my septic tank cover is under this mulch.
Ooh, hitting a septic tank is a bad day.
It's a very, very bad day. A 20-ton excavator will crush a septic tank like a soda can. You can't expect the operator to know where these things are unless you flag them.
And the text advises documentation. I thought this was brilliant. Take pictures of everything.
Not just your yard. Take video of your driveway, the curb, the sidewalk, even your neighbor's adjoining property.
Why the neighbor's property? That feels a little intrusive.
It's about protection. Think about vibration. If they're hammering rock, the ground shakes. If the neighbor comes over 3 weeks later and says, hey, your construction cracked my retaining wall, you need a baseline video to prove that crack was already there.
That is incredibly smart. It protects you, and honestly, a good contractor appreciates it because it protects them too.
Absolutely. It just clears the air before the dust even settles.
Now, during construction, some basic logistics. Move your stuff.
Please. Grills, patio furniture, the portable fire pit. If it's movable, move it. And clarify the access route. Don't let the crew guess how to get to the backyard.
Right, because that path is going to get torn up.
It'll get compacted and rutted. You want to sacrifice one specific lane, establish the haul road, and stick to it. Don't let tire tracks wander all over the lawn.
One final piece of advice from the text about stabilization. This really helps manage expectations about the finish line.
The job isn't done when the hole is filled. It's done when the site is stabilized. That usually means hay, mulch, or seed. But here's the reality check. Grass does not grow overnight.
Shocking, I know.
You might have a season where that area looks patchy. You might have slight settlement lines where the trench was. This is normal. The finish line of excavation is often just a safe, graded surface that needs time and biology to heal.
So patience is really the recurring theme here, isn't it?
It has to be.
You know, this whole deep dive has really changed how I picture the process. I think we're conditioned to judge construction by speed. We brag about it. They were in and out in 2 days.
And in excavation, speed is often the enemy of quality. If a contractor is obsessing over 811 tickets, if they're waiting for the mud to dry, if they are taking the time to compact the soil in 8-inch lifts,
They are wasting your time.
they are protecting your home. The boring contractor is the good contractor.
I love that. A boring excavation project is a successful one.
Exactly. You want boring. Excitement means hit gas lines, sinkholes, and flooded basements. You want the person who is methodical, slow, and follows the rules.
That's a great rule of thumb. And it brings us to a final thought. We've talked so much about what goes into the ground, the pipes, the gravel, the compacted dirt.
And that's the real irony of this whole trade.
Go on.
Think about it. You pay thousands and thousands of dollars. You endure weeks of noise and mud and disruption. You have your yard completely torn up. And if the job is done perfectly,
You'll never see the work again.
you will never see it again. It's invisible engineering. It's buried 4 feet underground. But that invisible work is what keeps your basement dry, your pipes from freezing, and your driveway from collapsing. We obsess over the finishes, right? The countertops, the paint colors.
Of course.
But the actual integrity of your home relies on the dirt work that you'll never look at twice.
So the next time you hear that backup alarm, maybe give a little nod of respect to the invisible work going on down there.
Absolutely. Dig safe, everyone.
That's it for this deep dive into residential excavation. Hopefully you're feeling a little less panic and a lot more prepared for your next project. We'll see you next time.